The sun had barely risen over the dense jungle, yet the forest was already alive with sounds. Birds sang in strange, loud voices, insects buzzed everywhere, and the leaves rustled as a soft wind passed through the thick canopy. The air smelled of wet earth and moss. Somewhere in the distance, a river flowed, its water rushing over smooth stones. It was a wild, untamed place, full of life, but also full of danger. John, a tall man with rough clothes and a worn-out backpack, stepped carefully over fallen branches and twisted roots. His eyes scanned the jungle in every direction, alert for movement. He had walked through many forests before, but this one felt different. It was silent in parts, almost unnaturally so, and in others alive with sounds that made him pause. He was alone, but he didn't mind. He liked being alone in the wild, where nothing distracted him from the challenge of survival. As he moved deeper, a strange feeling settled in his chest, a mix of curiosity and unease. He had come here following rumors of a jungle that hid strange creatures, but he had not expected to feel watched. Every rustle of leaves made him stop and listen. Every snap of a branch underfoot made his heart jump. Then, he heard it. A scream. At first he thought it was an animal, perhaps a monkey or some wildcat, but it was different. The sound was high-pitched and almost human. It cut through the jungle noise like a sharp knife. John froze, his heart pounded. He knew it wasn't normal. No animal in this forest screamed like that. He followed the sound carefully, moving through thick vines and muddy paths. The scream came again, closer this time, desperate and full of fear. John crouched behind a large tree, peering through the leaves. His eyes widened as he saw strange footprints in the mud, prints that were not like any human or animal he knew. They had long toes and deep grooves, and as if the creature had something heavy on its feet. "What in the world?" John whispered to himself. He had faced dangerous animals before, but this was different. The screams grew louder, and John realized they were coming from a deeper part of the jungle, where sunlight barely reached the ground. He could hear the woman's cries for help, mixed with strange clicking noises, almost like she was speaking in another language. His curiosity won over his fear. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, careful not to make a sound. As he moved closer, he noticed the trees were twisted and tall, their branches forming a natural maze. The air felt thicker here, almost hard to breathe, and he could hear the low growl of something moving in the shadows. John's hand instinctively went to the knife at his belt. He had learned long ago that in places like this, being cautious was the difference between life and death. Suddenly he saw it. A flash of pale skin and glowing eyes trapped in something that looked like a net made of metal and vines. She struggled violently, her hands trying to tear the trap apart. Her screams echoed through the jungle, and John could see the fear in her eyes. She was unlike any creature he had ever seen. Her skin had a faint shimmer, and her hair seemed to float as if underwater. Her limbs were slender but strong, and she looked both human and something else entirely. John's heart raced. He had heard rumors of alien life, but he never imagined he would see one, here, in the middle of a jungle on Earth. He took a cautious step forward. The alien woman's eyes met his, wide with terror. For a moment, it felt like the jungle itself had stopped breathing, holding its silence as if waiting for his next move. He scanned the area quickly. The trap looked dangerous, made with sharp spikes and strong vines, like it had been set by someone, or something, and very intelligent. John realized that if he wanted to help her, he had to act carefully. One wrong move, and they both could be in serious trouble. The woman screamed again, louder this time, and John jumped. He ran the last few steps and grabbed a sturdy branch, trying to pry the trap open. She looked at him with hope, her strange, glowing eyes reflecting the dim light that filtered through the canopy. The jungle was alive around them, the wind in the leaves, the distant calls of animals, the soft rustle of movement just out of sight, but John focused only on her. As he worked to free her, he could feel the tension building. Something was watching them. He could feel eyes on his back, and every crack of a branch made him spin around, knife in hand. But there was no one, at least not yet. Finally, with a loud snap, the trap broke, and the alien woman fell to the ground, panting and trembling. She stared at him for a moment, then let out a series of clicks and soft sounds. John didn't understand her language, but he understood the meaning. She was grateful, but still very scared. John helped her to her feet. The jungle around them seemed darker now, more dangerous. He knew this was only the beginning. Something had trapped her here, and whatever it was, it might still be close. The adventure he had stumbled into was bigger than he imagined. And as the jungle seemed to watch them silently, John realized one thing. Survival in this place would be a test of courage, wits, and the unknown. The jungle seemed even darker after the trap broke. The thick canopy blocked most of the sunlight, leaving only faint streaks of light on the forest floor. John helped the alien woman steady herself as she rose, her glowing eyes scanning every shadow. The faint shimmer on her skin reflected the little light that came through the leaves, making her look almost unreal, like a creature out of a dream or a nightmare. She spoke in soft melodic clicks, moving her hands in strange patterns. John didn't understand, but the urgency in her voice was clear. She was free, heightened, and the jungle around them was not safe. Her hand shook slightly as she pointed ahead, toward a narrow path between two massive trees. The path led deeper into the jungle, where shadows twisted unnaturally around the trunks, and the air felt thick with tension. John hesitated. "I don't know what's waiting there," he said quietly, his voice almost lost among the noises of the forest. "But I think it's better than staying here." The alien woman nodded slightly, then glanced over her shoulder. Something moved in the darkness behind them, a blur of motion, too fast and too silent to be human. John's hand went instinctively to the knife at his belt. He had survived many dangerous situations before, but the feeling he had right now was different. This was not just fear, it was something primal, like the jungle itself was warning him. They moved forward carefully. Every step had to be deliberate. The ground was uneven, tangled with roots and fallen leaves. Strange insects crawled over decaying logs, and occasional low growls echoed in the distance. John noticed how the alien woman avoided the noises, almost like she could sense danger before it came. She was guiding him without words, and he followed, trusting her instincts even though he had no idea what she was. After a few minutes, they reached a small clearing. The alien woman stopped suddenly and crouched low, her glowing eyes scanning the surroundings. John froze beside her. From the shadows of the trees, tiny glowing orbs began to appear. They hovered in the air, moving slowly as if observing them. John squinted. They looked like fireflies at first, but the way they moved and glowed was unnatural. Then a sudden noise shattered the quiet, a snapping branch behind them. The alien woman hissed sharply, a sound that was almost like a warning, and John spun around. The shadows between the trees shifted. He could see a tall figure, its outline strange and angular, moving silently toward them. Its movements were smooth, too smooth, like it was built for hunting. The alien woman reached out, grabbing John's arm with surprising strength. Her touch sent a strange warmth through him. Her clicks and soft sounds became faster, more urgent, as she tried to communicate something. John understood one thing clearly. They had to move. Now. He nodded and followed her as she led him down a narrow path hidden by vines. The jungle closed in around them. The trees were taller here, and the shadows thicker. Strange noises echoed from every direction, low growls, screeches, and the occasional wet thump of something heavy landing on the ground. John could feel his heart pounding in his chest. He was not just in a jungle, he was in a living trap. After what felt like hours, they reached a small stream. The alien woman knelt beside it, her fingers skimming the water. She drank quickly, then gestured for John to do the same. As he crouched, he noticed strange markings on her arms. They glowed faintly in the dim light. Lines and symbols, unlike any writing he had seen, pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. John realized she wasn't just an alien, she was from somewhere far beyond Earth. Her species was intelligent, advanced, and probably hunted. He could see the fear in her eyes, not just for herself, but for something else, something he didn't yet understand. Suddenly, a rustling noise came from across the stream. Both of them froze. Out of the shadows stepped a small group of creatures, tall, slender, with glowing eyes and long limbs. They were not human, not animal, but something in between. They didn't speak. They didn't move like they had bones. They moved fluidly, almost gliding over the forest floor. The alien woman hissed again and grabbed John's hand. Without thinking, he followed her, running along the stream. The creatures did not chase immediately. They watched, their glowing eyes tracking their movement. John could hear his own breathing, loud in his ear. As every step he took, every crack of a branch seemed to alert the jungle itself. They reached a massive tree with roots that formed a natural shelter underneath. The alien woman pulled him inside. It was cramped and dark, but it offered protection. She pressed her hands against his chest, then pointed to her glowing arms. Slowly, she began to draw symbols in the dirt with a stick. John watched, fascinated. It was a map, a way through the jungle, a safe path perhaps, or a warning of danger ahead. John realized something important. She was trying to communicate without words, and he had to learn fast if they were going to survive. As night fell, the jungle changed. The sounds grew louder, more threatening. Eyes glowed in the darkness, watching, waiting. John and the alien woman huddled together, not speaking, listening. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper of the wind made them tense. The jungle was alive, and whatever had trapped her here was still out there. John knew one thing clearly. He had found something extraordinary, and their survival depended on trust, courage, and understanding the unknown. The alien woman's presence was mysterious, dangerous, and fascinating all at once. And in the quiet of the jungle, with shadows dancing and strange noises echoing, he realized the real adventure was just beginning. The jungle had grown darker with the late afternoon sun filtering faintly through the thick canopy. John and the alien woman moved carefully, their footsteps almost silent on the damp ground. She led him through narrow paths and tangled vines, always alert, always pausing to listen. Her glowing eyes darted to every shadow, every movement. John had never seen someone, or something, so cautious, so aware of danger. After a few minutes, they came to a small clearing. The air was heavy and still. Even the usual jungle sounds seemed to pause, as if the force it itself was holding its breath. John crouched beside the alien woman, feeling the tension in her body. She clicked and hummed softly, and this time, John understood her meaning. They were not alone. A rustle came from the trees. John tensed. The sound was too deliberate to be an animal. Then he saw it, a figure emerging from the shadows. It moved smoothly, almost silently, gliding over the undergrowth. It was humanoid, but wrong. Its limbs were long and angular, its skin dark and reflective. Eyes glowed faintly, fixed on them like a predator stalking prey. The alien woman hissed sharply, a warning sound. She pressed herself against John, guiding him down behind a fallen log. They both held their breath, trying to become part of the shadows. The creature paused, sniffing the air, or perhaps sensing them in ways John could not understand. Its gaze swept over them, sharp and calculating. For a moment, John felt the full weight of fear. This was not just survival, it was a test, and the stakes were life and death. The creature moved closer, then stopped. Its head tilted slightly, studying the alien woman. It clicked in a language John couldn't comprehend, low and threatening. She answered with faster, sharper clicks, and John noticed something strange. Her glowing arms pulsed with light as she spoke. It was almost like a signal, a warning, or perhaps a call for help. Suddenly, another sound cut through the tense air, a twig snapping underfoot. John froze, realizing the creature had noticed it too. It lunged toward them, its long arms reaching like a hunter striking at prey. The alien woman acted immediately. She grabbed a branch from the ground and swung it with astonishing speed, striking the creature's head. It hissed and recoiled, but John noticed it wasn't injured in the way a human would be. The creature shook its head, almost like it was annoyed rather than hurt, and advanced again. John realized they couldn't fight this thing head-on. They had to run. The alien woman grabbed his hand and pulled him up, moving quickly through the underbrush. Shh! He stumbled once but regained his balance. Her speed and agility were extraordinary, almost otherworldly. As they ran, John noticed the jungle seemed alive in a different way. Trees bent slightly as if making room for them, vines moved aside, and the shadows shifted to hide them. It was as if the alien woman had a connection with the jungle, and it was helping her. They ran for what felt like hours, though it could have been only minutes. Eventually they came to a wide river, its water rushing fast over jagged rocks. The alien woman stopped, panting, and gestured for John to be careful. The creature was behind them, its glowing eyes watching their every move. John noticed the alien woman placing small glowing marks on the rocks along the riverbank. They pulsed faintly, almost like a map. She looked back at him and gestured, as if saying, "Follow me carefully." Together, they leapt from rock to rock, the water crashing around them. The sound was deafening, masking their movements. The creature paused at the edge, hissing in frustration, then retreated back into the jungle shadows. Once they reached the other side, the alien woman led John into a hidden hollow between two massive tree roots. She crouched, her glowing arms pulsing softly, and spoke in clicks and hums. John listened carefully, trying to understand. Though he couldn't comprehend her words, he understood the urgency. More creatures were out there, and they had to keep moving. As night began to fall, the jungle transformed. Strange bioluminescent plants glowed faintly, casting eerie light over the forest floor. Tiny insects emitted soft flashes, lighting their path for a moment before vanishing into darkness. The alien woman pointed to a small opening leading deeper into the jungle. John understood immediately. They were heading to safety, or at least somewhere she knew they could rest. They moved. Silently, constantly alert. Every rustle, every whisper of wind, every shadow set John's nerves on edge. The jungle was no longer just a place. It was a living entity filled with hidden dangers. He glanced at the alien woman, who moved with confidence and precision, aware of threats he could not even sense. Her eyes met his briefly, and he felt a strange trust form between them. Survival depended on it. Finally, they reached a small clearing hidden by thick vines and giant leaves. It was a natural shelter, safe enough for a short rest. The alien woman gestured for him to sit and catch his breath. She pressed her hand against his chest briefly, then began drawing more glowing symbols in the dirt. This time, John noticed patterns he recognized: paths, warnings, and perhaps instructions. He realized she was teaching him, preparing him for the dangers still to come. As the jungle around them settled into night, John understood one thing: the alien woman was not just a stranger or a creature to protect. She was a guide, a teacher, and perhaps the only key to surviving the jungle's deadly mysteries. But he also knew the danger was far from over. Something was hunting them still, and the real test was only beginning. The jungle was alive with a strange energy. Night had fallen, but the forest glowed faintly with bioluminescent plants and insects, casting an eerie light on the twisted roots and vines. John crouched behind a massive fallen tree, trying to control his breathing. The alien woman stood beside him, glowing softly, her eyes scanning the shadows. Both of them were alert. Every sound, every movement could mean danger. They had not been alone for long. From deep in the jungle came the soft crunch of leaves and the snapping of twigs. John's stomach twisted. He knew the hunters were coming, those strange creatures he had seen earlier. They moved in silence, but John could feel their presence, like shadows creeping closer with deadly precision. The alien woman tapped his shoulder and pointed toward a narrow path hidden by thick vines. She gestured for him to follow. John nodded and moved cautiously, stepping over roots and ducking under low-hanging branches. She moved ahead with grace and speed, almost floating through the jungle. Every now and then, she stopped and touched a glowing plant or marked the ground with a soft pulse of light from her hands. John realized she was leading them through a safe path, one designed to confuse anyone or anything chasing them. Suddenly, a sharp screech echoed through the jungle. John spun around just in time to see two of the hunters emerge from the shadows. Their eyes glowed red, and their long limbs stretched unnaturally as they lunged forward. The alien woman hissed and grabbed John, pulling him into a narrow crevice between two trees. The hunters ran past them, their movements swift and precise like predators on a mission. John's heart raced. "We can't keep hiding forever," he whispered. The alien woman clicked sharply, pointing ahead. She wanted him to run. Without hesitation, John followed, dodging vines and leaping over roots as she led him deeper into the jungle. The sounds of pursuit echoed behind them, sharp and relentless. Branches snapped, leaves rustled, and the jungle seemed to come alive with every step they took. As they ran, John noticed something strange. The jungle itself seemed to react to the alien woman's presence. Trees bent slightly, creating a hidden path. Vines moved just enough to clear their way, and glowing plants lit their path briefly before fading. It was as if the jungle recognized her and wanted to help them survive. They reached a small ravine with a rushing river at the bottom. John hesitated, looking for a way across. The alien woman stepped onto a series of large stones, each glowing faintly under her touch. She gestured for John to follow. The stones formed a precarious path over the water, but it was their only chance. John took a deep breath and leaped from one to the next, careful not to slip. The river roared below, threatening to sweep him away. Halfway across, John glanced back. The hunters had caught up and were watching from the riverbank, their red eyes gleaming in the darkness. One of them raised a long, blade-like arm ready to strike. John felt a surge of fear, but the alien woman reached out, touching his arm. A strange warmth spread through him, steadying his nerves. She clicked softly, and he felt an understanding. She had a plan. They made it across the river, landing on the opposite bank with a splash. John's heart pounded, but they could not stop. The hunters were relentless, and the jungle offered only brief moments of safety. They ran through thick ferns, twisted roots, and low-hanging branches, their path lit occasionally by glowing insects. Every step was dangerous, every shadow a potential threat. After several tense minutes, they reached a hidden cave, its entrance almost completely covered by vines. The alien woman gestured for John to follow inside. They crawled through the narrow opening, pressing against the damp walls as the hunters paused outside. From within the cave, John could hear the creatures clicking and hissing, frustrated by their prey's disappearance. The alien woman's arms glowed faintly, illuminating the cave just enough for them to see. Inside, the air was cool and damp. John exhaled slowly, finally able to relax, though only slightly. The alien woman clicked softly, pointing to a series of symbols etched into the cave wall. They pulsed faintly, glowing in rhythm with her hands. John studied them carefully. They were instructions, warnings, and perhaps a guide for the path ahead. He realized she was teaching him, showing him how to survive in this jungle, how to outsmart the hunters. Outside, the jungle returned to silence. For a brief moment, it seemed as though time itself had paused, but John knew the danger was far from over. The hunters would not give up, and the jungle still held many secrets and threats. The alien woman turned to him, her glowing eyes meeting his. There was no fear in her gaze now, only determination. Together, they would face whatever came next. John clenched his fists. He did not fully understand who or what she was, but he knew one thing clearly. Survival depended on trust, courage, and the will to move forward, no matter how deadly the jungle or its hunters might be. And in the darkness, with shadows lurking and strange eyes watching, the chase was only just beginning. The jungle grew quieter as the first hints of dawn crept through the thick canopy. Mist rose from the damp ground, curling around roots and fallen trees like restless spirits. John and the alien woman moved cautiously, their shadows stretching long across the forest floor. The night's chase had left both of them tense, but neither showed fear. Instead, a strange determination guided them forward. The alien woman paused near a massive tree whose roots twisted like serpents over the earth. She pressed her glowing hands against the bark, and faint symbols appeared, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. John knelt beside her, staring in awe. He had seen her communicate with gestures and clicks, but this was something different. She was speaking to the jungle itself. The tree's roots shifted slightly, opening a narrow passage hidden behind thick vines. John's jaw dropped. It moved, he whispered. The alien woman clicked softly, a sound almost like a laugh, and gestured for him to follow. They crawled through the opening, squeezing past roots and rocks until they emerged into a hidden cavern. Inside, the walls glowed faintly with bioluminescent fungi, casting shadows that danced like spirits. The air smelled sweet and earthy. John could see strange carvings on the walls, symbols and images unlike anything he had ever seen. Some depicted creatures, tall and thin with glowing eyes, hunting smaller beings. Others showed strange landscapes, glowing cities, and flying ships. The alien woman traced her fingers over the carvings, her eyes reflecting the soft light. John understood then. She was trying to show him something. These carvings were a story, a warning, and perhaps a guide. She had been here before. She knew the dangers, the hunters, and the hidden paths. And now, she was sharing that knowledge with him. Suddenly, a soft clicking sound echoed in the cavern. The alien woman froze, her glowing arms pulsing faster. John's heart raced. The sound grew louder, coming from a narrow tunnel at the far end. Shadows moved, shifting and twisting unnaturally. He reached for his knife, but the alien woman shook her head. She motioned for him to stay quiet. Through the dim light, they saw figures approaching, smaller than the hunters they had escaped before, but just as dangerous. They moved in a strange, fluid way, their eyes glinting like molten metal. John realized these were scouts, sentinels of the creatures hunting them. The alien woman clicked rapidly, then pressed her hands to the ground. Tiny pulses of light traveled along the cavern floor, forming a barrier of sorts. The creatures paused, confused by the glowing patterns. John watched in amazement. She was not just guiding him, she was controlling the environment in a way he couldn't comprehend. The jungle and the cavern seemed to respond to her presence, bending and shifting to protect them. Once the scouts retreated, she led him deeper into the cavern, where the walls widened into a small chamber. In the center lay a shallow pool of water, its surface perfectly still. The alien woman knelt beside it, her glowing hands hovering above the water. Slowly, the surface rippled, reflecting images in a strange, shimmering way. John peered closer and gasped. The pool showed scenes from far away, another world entirely. Towering cities of metal and glass, flying ships soaring through purple skies, creatures moving with precision and purpose. John realized this was her home plane. The place she had been torn from. She was not just an alien, she was a survivor, stranded in a jungle on Earth. The alien woman turned to him, her glowing eyes meeting his. She clicked softly, then placed her hand over his. A wave of understanding washed over him. She had been hunted here, trapped by intelligent predators. Her species was advanced but isolated, and she had been alone until now. John realized he was not just helping her survive. He was part of something much larger, a story that spanned worlds. Suddenly, the cavern trembled. John stumbled, barely catching himself on the glowing wall. The alien woman's pulse quickened. From the tunnel they had entered, shadows stretched longer and darker. The hunters were close, and they had found the trail again. The jungle outside the cavern was alive with movement, the sounds of pursuit echoing faintly through the rocks. John swallowed hard. "We can't stay here," he whispered. She nodded and gestured toward a narrow passage that led upward. They climbed carefully, the walls slick with moss, until they emerged near the jungle floor once more. The morning mist clung to their skin, and the air smelled of wet earth and life. The alien woman paused, listening, her glowing eyes scanning the surroundings. John noticed something he had not before. She carried no weapons, yet she seemed ready to face anything. The jungle itself was an ally, and she knew how to use it. He understood that survival here was not about strength alone. It was about understanding, patience, and trust. They moved forward, deeper into the jungle, where unknown dangers awaited. The alien woman paused again, clicking softly and drawing glowing symbols in the dirt. John followed her gestures, realizing that each mark was a warning, a path, or perhaps a strategy. They were preparing for what was coming next, and John knew the real test was only beginning. As they disappeared into the thick jungle, shadows stretching around them, John realized one thing: the jungle was no longer just a place of danger. It was a living map, a protector, and a teacher. And the alien woman was the key to unlocking its secrets. The hunt was far from over, but now he understood something vital. Knowledge and trust were their greatest weapons. The jungle was alive with tension. Shadows stretched long under the faint light of the rising sun, and the mist clung to the leaves, wrapping everything in a ghostly haze. John and the alien woman moved cautiously, but both knew that the hunters were close. The air felt heavy, almost vibrating with the presence of something dangerous. From the distance came a low, menacing hum. John's heart raced. He had seen the hunters before, but this time they were different. They were smarter, faster, and more relentless. The alien woman's glow pulsed softly, almost like a warning signal. She clicked sharply and pressed her hand to John's chest. He understood immediately. They had to fight or die. Suddenly, the hunters emerged from the shadows. Their glowing eyes pierced through the mist, and their long limbs moved with unnatural precision. John drew his knife, but he knew it would be nearly useless against these creatures. The alien woman stepped forward, her glowing arms radiating light that made the hunters pause for a fraction of a second, just enough. The first hunter lunged at them. John swung his knife, barely grazing its arm. The creature hissed, recoiling slightly, but it was unharmed. The alien woman acted with speed John could hardly follow. She struck the creature with a glowing pulse from her hands. It staggered backward, momentarily dazed, before lunging again. John realized they needed a plan. The jungle was full of traps, natural and unnatural. He quickly scanned the area and noticed thick vines, sharp rocks, and hollow logs. "Follow me," he shouted. Together they led the hunters into a narrow area where the trees and vines restricted movement. One hunter got tangled in the vines, its limbs thrashing wildly. The alien woman pressed her hands against the ground, sending a wave of energy that made the vines tighten around it, holding it in place. The second hunter lunged at John, its claws gleaming. He ducked just in time, rolling over a root and landing behind a fallen tree. The alien woman followed, striking the hunter with a glowing beam from her arm. It screeched and stumbled back, giving John a moment to breathe. Together, they were stronger than he had imagined. Her powers and his quick thinking made them a team. Suddenly, more hunters appeared, surrounding them. The jungle itself seemed to shift, twisting shadows and moving branches as if aiding the alien woman. John realized the jungle was alive in a way he had never understood before. It responded to her presence, bending, hiding, and even striking the hunters with falling branches and swinging vines. The alien woman clicked rapidly, and John understood she was communicating a plan. He nodded and followed her movements. They darted between trees, dodging attacks and using the environment as weapons. Rocks were dislodged, vines whipped at the hunters, and glowing plants startled them. Each hunter that lunged was met with a combination of her energy pulses and John's quick reflexes. Then, one hunter leaped from above, aiming directly at the alien woman. John acted instinctively. He grabbed a thick branch and swung it with all his strength. The hunter collided with it, crashing to the ground with a stunned grunt. The alien woman took the opportunity to strike it with a powerful beam from her hands, knocking it unconscious. John panted heavily. "We can't keep this up forever," he said. The alien woman clicked, her glowing eyes scanning the area. She gestured toward a dark tunnel partially hidden behind a thick wall of vines. John understood immediately. They could escape. but they had to move now. They ran toward the tunnel, the hunters recovering quickly and giving chase. The jungle seemed to fight with them, hiding their trail and slowing their pursuers. Vines wrapped around the hunters' limbs and branches blocked their path. The alien woman led John skillfully, always one step ahead of the danger. As they entered the tunnel, John realized it was much deeper than it seemed. Water dripped from the ceiling, and the ground was slippery with moss. They moved quickly but carefully, knowing the hunters were not far behind. The alien woman pressed her hand to the wall, sending a pulse of light that illuminated the path ahead. Symbols glowed faintly on the rocks, guiding them deeper into safety. Finally, they reached a small chamber, hidden from the jungle and the hunters. The alien woman collapsed briefly, exhausted but still glowing faintly. John leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Outside, the sounds of the jungle were quieter, but he knew the hunters were still searching. They had survived the first battle, but the war was far from over. The alien woman turned to John, her glowing eyes reflecting a mixture of gratitude and determination. She clicked softly, and John understood. They had won this encounter, but there were more dangers ahead. The jungle, the hunters, and the unknown forces that had brought her here were all still threats. John felt a surge of respect for her. She was not just a survivor, she was a fighter, a guide, and a key to understanding the mysteries of this alien jungle. Together they had faced impossible odds and survived, but he knew one thing: the real challenge was still coming, and they would need every ounce of courage and skill to survive what lay ahead. As they rested in the hidden chamber, the jungle outside pulsed with life and danger. John clenched his fists, ready for whatever was next. The battle had ended, for now, but the war for survival in this mysterious jungle was far from over. The jungle was eerily quiet. The sun had early set, casting long shadows through the thick canopy. John and the alien woman moved cautiously, their bodies tense and alert. Every rustle of leaves, every distant call of an unseen creature made John's heart race. The battle with the hunters had ended, but he knew the danger was far from over. Somewhere in the jungle, more threats lurked, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The alien woman paused at a bend in the trail. She pressed her glowing hands to the ground, creating faint pulses of light that spread across the earth like ripples in water. Symbols appeared in the dirt, glowing softly and fading just as quickly. John followed her gaze and saw it, a swirling, shimmering portal hidden among the roots of a massive tree. The air around it shimmered, faintly distorting the jungle behind it. This was their only way out. She clicked softly, gesturing for John to follow her through the portal. He hesitated, staring at the glowing vortex. His mind raced with questions. Where did it lead? Was it safe? But he had no choice. The hunters were still out there, and the jungle could only protect them for so long. Taking a deep breath, John stepped forward. The alien woman reached out, taking his hand. The warmth of her touch gave him courage. Together they stepped into the portal. Light swallowed them, twisting and stretching their vision. The air felt thick, almost like swimming through honey, and a soft hum filled their ears. For a moment, John felt weightless, as if gravity no longer existed. When the world stopped spinning, they found themselves in a place unlike anything John had ever seen. The sky was a deep shade of violet, dotted with twin suns that cast golden streaks across the landscape. Towering structures of shimmering metal and glass rose from the ground, pulsing with soft light. Floating vehicles moved through the air with silent grace, leaving trails of luminescent energy behind. The ground beneath their feet glowed faintly, and plants with translucent leaves swayed as if breathing. John's mouth fell open. This is incredible," he whispered. The alien woman clicked softly, her voice melodic, yet urgent. She gestured toward the city in the distance, then back at John. Slowly, words formed in his mind, not through speech but understanding. She was telling him about her world, her home, a place of advanced knowledge, peace, and technology far beyond anything on Earth. She had been stranded here when hunters from her own planet tracked her, forcing her into hiding. John realized the truth. This jungle, the hunters, and the traps were part of a larger hunt, a game played by those who wanted her captured, and now he was part of it too. Suddenly, a loud hum echoed across the landscape. Shadows moved in the distance. Hunters had followed them through the portal. John's heart raced. He looked at the alien woman. Her eyes glowed brighter, filled with determination. She pressed her hands to her chest, sending waves of light outward. The ground beneath the hunters trembled, and some fell to their knees, disoriented by the alien energy. John realized that she was more than just powerful. She was a protector. She had the strength to fight back, to defend not just herself but anyone who stood with her. and he understood that he had to trust her completely if they were going to survive this new world. Together, they moved toward the glowing city. The alien woman led him through narrow streets and alleys of light, avoiding patrols and scanning for danger. The hunters regrouped, more determined than ever, but the alien woman's knowledge of this world gave them an edge. Every turn, every symbol on the ground, every pulse of light was part of a strategy to stay alive. Finally, they reached the central plaza, where a massive platform floated above the ground. The alien woman gestured for John to step onto it. As he did, the platform lifted smoothly into the air, moving toward one of the tall, shimmering towers. From here, they had a clear view of the city and the approaching hunters. John's heart pounded as he realized the scale of this world, vast, alive, and unlike anything he had ever imagined. The alien woman spoke in clicks and soft tones, and John understood her words clearly for the first time. She was telling him that they were safe for now. The hunters could not follow them further. She had protected him, guided him, and taught him the secrets of survival, and now they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. John looked at her, understanding the bond they had formed. It was not just survival that connected them. It was trust, courage, and the knowledge that they could overcome impossible odds when they worked together. As the platform carried them higher, the city spread out beneath them like a living organism, glowing and pulsing with life. John felt a sense of awe and hope. The jungle, the hunters, the chase, all of it had led to this moment. They had escaped, survived, and discovered a world beyond his wildest imagination. But even as they floated above the city, John knew one thing: the hunt was not over. More challenges awaited, more dangers lurked, and the story of survival and courage was far from finished. The alien woman's hand tightened around his, glowing brightly in the fading light. John smiled, feeling the weight of fear lift from his shoulders. Together, they were ready. And in that moment, John realized that adventure, danger, and discovery were only the beginning of their journey. The universe was vast, mysterious, and full of secrets, and now they would face it together.